Welcome to e-learning with Rosa Media Productions.
Oh, Google Docs. Google Docs has been an absolutely wonderful thing that Mr. Rosa has taught us.
Technology integration is only effective with adequate professional development.
I'm Cliff Rosa, teacher turned video entrepreneur, where I approach using video for your school or your business, speaking from the heart of a teacher. Hello and welcome to the Rosa Media Productions Webcast. This is Cliff Rosa, and I just want to invite you to come on our show today and meet a colleague, Brian Kissell. He's a principal at Ada Harris School down in Cardiff, and he volunteered time to tell us what it's been like to have a broadcast studio, webcasting studio on his campus for this last half year of the school year. I set it up for him back in December. This is August now, and we get to hear some of his insights on what it's been like to have that at his school. We're going to cut to that interview right now. Our guest today is Brian Kissell. I met Brian in his role as the principal of Ada Harris School in Cardiff-by-the-Sea, California. He started his career in education as a middle school science teacher in Coronado. He is passionate about all learning and is most proud of family. In his free time, Brian enjoys an active life, surfing, swimming, biking, hiking, etc., outside of school, and most importantly, spending time with his wife and children. And Brian, I just say amen to that. I'm definitely a family man myself, so that's why we do what we do, right?
That's what's most important.
Yeah, right on. So, Brian, welcome to the Rosa Media Productions Webcast.
Thank you very much.
And so, what I'm actually wanting to talk to you about is, as the principal of a school that has a broadcast system, basically, why were you interested in having a video broadcast system at Ada Harris?
Well, I was interested because a couple things. Just one, we have a lot of technology in place, and I wanted to find some relevant ways to put it to use. And I also wanted to find create some opportunities for our students to participate in reporting back out to our student population about the great things going on in our classroom and the learning that was occurring on a day-to-day basis. Okay.
Now, has AHSN met those goals, would you say?
Absolutely. Last year, under the guidance of Mr. Grisafe, or Mark Grisafe, who is our educational technology teacher, I would say he met and exceeded our goals, and it's just been a really good ride. And we started midway through the year, so we haven't even had an entire year of using this resource. So really looking forward to next year.
Yeah. So you talked about highlighting student learning. Kind of what were you picturing there when you talk about highlighting?
Well, I wanted a way for students to go into classrooms and capture moments that were occurring with students, doing the work in the classrooms and working with their teachers and working with their peers. And I wanted it to be students who were recognizing it, not just teachers or administrators going around and doing this. It was something that I really wanted the students to take a part in, and it helps to build their pride in what they do, not just with the student news, but what they do back in the classroom, because they see how valuable it is for other students to see it.
Well, great. Now, so you mentioned how Mark, Mr. G, took that and ran with it, and in the 4 or 5 months that you had it in place, you really felt like it was meeting those goals. What were the keys to making that successful?
Well, I think the first key was just the people in the program. It's Mr. Grisafe just did a phenomenal job. I had enough of an idea of what we wanted to get us started, but he really picked up the ball and ran end zone to end zone with it without a lot of guidance. So he was a very key factor in this success. And then the students who applied and really wanted to be part of this program, and I think my numbers might be off a little bit, but we had about 39 or 40 students who applied for these positions. And they did a full application, and our sixth grade teachers read through it and selected the top individuals to take on this role. And they really bought into it hook, line, and sinker, and took it to heart. So the people made that program most successful, and it really, the equipment was great and functioned just how we needed. But it really comes down to finding the people who will, and the students will definitely rise to the occasion. So if you have an adult with just enough information and knowledge to get it started, the students will definitely take it that extra step.
That's great to say, or great to hear, actually, because I actually remember in one of our conversations, I think it was when I was actually there setting up the studio, and you said something along the lines of, well, having the right people in place is key, and it sounds like your experience bore that out.
Absolutely.
Well, Mark being there, was a linchpin, as it were, and I have a special kind of admiration for those teachers that can enfold and envision students and empower them in such a way that they take ownership. And when a teacher can do that, and like Mark did, it just takes learning and achievement to another level.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that.
Yeah, that is real proud of what Mark did there that way. Now, okay, so you guys actually were the prototype. I refer to Ada Harris as my prototype. That's when I talk to my prototype school. And so what were some areas where the system fell short? And
I honestly haven't felt. We had a couple things that we changed with microphones, and we added a teleprompter, but it was just, we figured out ways to enhance what was already there. I don't feel like there were shortcomings. But like I said, we started this kind of midway through the year, so it was definitely, there could be more shortfalls to fall when we have the full year. So ask me again in a year and I might have some better answers or more concrete answers, but right now I don't feel like we had any shortfalls in the system. Going into it, I was a little wary of like when we would find the time for the kids to do this.
Okay.
And I took that problem to my 6th grade team of teachers, and they felt strongly that this was a really powerful program, or was going to be a powerful program, and said, don't worry about the time, we'll figure it out. The students who are going to do this will stay on top of their academics, and we'll find the time in their day that they can go do this work for the greater good of the whole school. And so that kind of fell into place nicely. And then we just happened to be lucky in that we had a room. We had that small room that was completely unused. It was a storage room. We had to do a little bit of furniture moving and to clear out the space, but we had that space, so I could see where some schools might struggle with where to put it, so it's not stuck in a closet or something like that.
Yeah. So a couple of things you just said there. One key was the teacher buy-in. The teachers that were the 6th grade team, that their students were going to be participating, they actually were their buy-in was a key component. And
Absolutely.
I've just been in those situations where the folks that are, some people in the situation, some of the shot callers actually don't really have buy-in, and so it's a real asset that you had that team in place that said, no, this is definitely worth it, and we'll do the extra things that were needed to. I'm not saying making allowances so much for those students, but actually kind of just making sure, oh, did you get that assignment? Did you write this down? Things like that. It does take a little extra brain work on the part of those teachers, so good for them.
Yeah, definitely. And the other, I will say there is a shortfall in that if it's hard to get all the students to experience it that they want to experience it. So we had to limit it to just our 6th grade team. And within our 6th grade team, we managed to get all the students who expressed an interest and applied for the positions. We managed to give them an opportunity to be trained and to be part of the team in some way, shape, or form by the end of the year. However, if that number increases to hundreds of kids, obviously you can't you can't have 100 kids on that team. It just won't function well. So that is a shortfall in that if you have too many kids interested, it's going to be really difficult to manage. And how do you decide who gets the job, and how do you like what number is a good cutoff where you're not leaving too many kids out?
You know what's interesting about that, Brian, is it makes me just think about the democratization of media production that's happened with the advent of higher quality smartphone cameras and easy entry level like iMovie and things like that for editing, and then YouTube, just free content distribution. It's this idea that everyone can play. And there at your school with the Ada Harris Student News, in a sense, you really have created a new sort of shot caller, a new that's a nexus of production and a nexus of access. So, wow, now you did give that opportunity to everyone who expressed an interest, but now you think that it might be more than twice, because conceivably you had a half a year, twice could be a full year, right? And all the kids. But yeah, maybe a lot more kids might want to. Something that might cover that, since you are a one-to-one iPad school, is that you could allow folks, kind of the independents, the indie producers. The students could actually become their own indie producers, right? And they could put together and then submit. Could we go ahead and so you have a channel. So if they may not be the reporter or whatever, but they could have that that other channel for another. You guys are just once a week, right? So you could have like a Thursday, independent or student productions or something like that. That's just, it's a different flavor. It doesn't have that news show, but it's just hey, these were 3 submissions this week.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Well, it's I think encouraging that and giving the outlet for that. You wanna keep cultivating that. Oh yeah, I can do this. I can get in there, especially for those students. So that's great.
Yeah. One other thing I will add is that we were able to use that room and the green screen and everything for some other things other than the student news. We actually had our 3rd graders. They changed up their traditional biography report that they would do. And instead of just doing the presentation in front of the class like they typically would do, they actually recorded it. And so it was really a good experience because they're doing it in a room with only a couple other people instead of the whole class. And some of the shyer, less talkative students were really able to find their voice. And then when they were able to watch themselves in front of the rest of the staff, or in front of the rest of the peers, it made a really big impact on their confidence level as they had other times of speaking in front of the class. So it was a nightmare to get all the kids rotated through there, but it was a good use of the time and the space, and it also kind of alleviated that this is a resource for everybody. And the Ada Harris Student News team took the priority, but we were able to utilize other parts of the day to make that work.
So, did you end up training additional teachers on the system then, or?
No, Mr. Grisafe was the one and only. I remember you gave me that training, and I've promptly forgotten everything you have. So that's why I have to make sure I keep Mark around to make sure that runs well. I'm sure I can remember enough to get things running after some time, but no, he has most of the knowledge in terms of the staff. But as far as students, we probably have like 50 students who have a really good understanding of how to use it already.
Which is great.
Yeah.
I mean, they're a resource. Mark, that sounds like job security. Now he's a young man that's going places, so you're not going to be able to hang on to him forever. I'll tell you that.
I have my ways. I'll figure out a way to keep him here.
Well, there you go. That's a good ambition, but yeah. So basically, staying through Mark, and he was manning that. I remember when we had installed the initial microphones that I had spec'd out. We were going for cost effective. And how can we get this set up and that will work. I remember those microphones we got. I had used them before, but in a different situation, and they were just full of buzz, and all the electricity with the the lighting just made them pretty much useless. And so I have since researched out and found some better solutions around there, and so I've actually set up with Mark to come out and take a look at what you guys have done.
Oh, good.
Since then, I'm going to be kind of checking out, and I'm really interested in the teleprompter because Mark made it sound like that was kind of a linchpin piece to kind of get in place and really make the production smoother. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, that came about, I believe, because of we've set it up so that the student body can provide feedback to the student news team through our Schoology application that we use, which is kind of like an educational Facebook. But the broadcast goes out, and students are encouraged to respond with feedback about the broadcast itself, but also they will put up, silly questions like, what was your favorite act in such and such last night, or something like that, and kind of do a tally. But they use that feedback, and one of the things that came back initially on the first few broadcasts is that the students were frustrated that the talent was not looking at the camera and was looking down too much. And so when we got that teleprompter up, suddenly they're sitting up and looking at the camera and performing much better. And then they just got this overwhelming positive response from the students. So that feedback is actually one of the other things that I would say that was made it very successful, in that it got the students used to being, making this visible product or public product, and then being open to the criticism to improve it, which is, I mean, we can't ask for a better 21st century skill than that. So
having a producer that's responsive to a feedback mechanism.
Yeah.
That sounds interestingly enough like the Lean Startup book by Eric Ries.
Yep.
That is definitely an agile concept. So that's awesome. Great. Okay, so let me see here. Where am I in my questions? Okay, so kind of covered some of the upgrades that you've done to the system. And okay, so this system initially it cost your school about $7,000 altogether for the equipment and paying me for the setup and those kinds of things. Do you feel that was worth that investment, or why or why not?
I feel like it was worth it because I certainly couldn't have done this kind of a setup. I don't have the time to do all the research necessary, and I don't have the know-how. I probably could have fumbled through it, but it would have taken me a lot of time. It would have ended up costing me at least the same amount for the equipment, if not more, because I probably would have had to experiment with different things. And as principal to other principals who might be watching this, you're not going to have the time to do this. So if you can find the money, you can get from point A to point B and get this up and running a lot sooner by putting that money in the right place. So I absolutely believe it was worthwhile, and I think it was a very sound investment for us. And if you price it out for just the hours that we spend on it, and then the uses we get out of it, I really do feel like it's worthwhile. So it's a very good tool for the students, but it's also can be utilized by the staff. One of my personal goals is to continue putting out our Cardiff Way message, which is our positive behavior plan, basically, on how we treat people. And each week we try to embed messages that just continue, very consistently promote this way to treat each other. And it's just one more layer of helping students behave in a way that we feel is going to benefit everybody.
Hi there, this is Cliff Rosa. Sorry I'm breaking in right here, but I actually broke this interview into two parts. Some good content with Brian. Unfortunately, we went a little longer in our interview, so I broke it into two parts. You can check out part 2, and you're going to hear Brian answer these questions. How has the Ada Harris Student News affected your school, your community? If you were to do it over again from the beginning, what would you do differently? And what's next for Ada Harris Student News? What would you tell a principal or a district administrator who was considering investing in an online video broadcast system? Now, if you'd like to catch these in part 2, just look for that segment on my website, rosamediaproductions.com. You can subscribe there for updates so you don't miss any posts. At this point, I want to thank you. This is Cliff Rosa, Rosa Media Productions, signing off. Thank you for investing your time with Rosa Media Productions e-learning. I'm Cliff Rosa, encouraging and empowering you to make your impact on the world with media.